Hey guys, welcome back to another Mythic Legions review. Another skeleton from the All-Star 6 series, we have Skalli Bonesplitter out for review today. In that classic Mythic Legions box, the entire figure and accessories can be seen inside of the clear plastic box. Around the back, we have the artwork reused from the Necronominus series, along with a short bit of lore on Mythic Legions and a few pictures of the characters in that wave. A small picture of the figure and the character's background story is printed on the side of the box along with his name. Removing the figure is easy as the packaging is collector friendly, allowing you to remove the plastic trays without tearing the box open. One thing to note is that the figure is tied to the tray using metal twist ties. Skalli Bonesplitter was released in the All-Star 6 wave, a collection of fan-voted figures to have the chance of another production run. The All-Stars 6 series was also treated as a continuation of the Necronominus wave, and featured a few more characters from that legion. Much like the other skeleton raiders in this wave, Skalli Bonesplitter is from the cold northern settlement of Vikenfell, home to the ruthless marauders who travel by ship. When a failed expedition returned to Vikenfell, it brought back a deadly curse with it, turning the raiders into undead warriors of Necronominus. In his living life, Skalli was known to be one of the most ruthless marauders in Vikenfell, and he too was afflicted by this curse. But it seems his reputation has only grown worse in death, as he now leads the legion of skeleton raiders and rampages towards the center of Mythos, bringing death to all in his path. Let's check out some of the details of the figure. A very impressive skeleton sculpt was used on Skalli. A dwarven-style helmet covering the upper half of his face. It's extremely detailed, with a plated pattern over the eye sockets, bronze rivets connecting each layered plate, with the dark steel color of the metal making the silver trimming on each plate stand out even more. Two large copper nubs detail each side of the forehead of the helmet, with a reinforced band of metal reaching towards the nose. Underneath the helmet, the eyes are shrouded in darkness from the helmet, but the skeletal nose and mouth are seen here. With a ton of attention to detail on the teeth sculpting, each tooth is misshapen and jagged, with the heavy brown wash bringing out the details of each tooth. Hanging underneath the jaw and from the helmet is a large brown beard, with each strand of thick hair individually sculpted, with two of the larger strands braided, and the tips of each section bundled in copper bands. Over at the sides, we have a better look at the large sockets where we will be installing horn accessories later on in the review. On the section of armor that protects the jaw, there is a floral vine design that is supposed to be highlighted in bronze. It's applied extremely sloppy, and this would be the first time I've ever seen paint applied this badly on a Mythic Legions. Unfortunate. Over at the back, while the detail is toned down here, we still have a lot to look at. Large scratches in the dark metal, corrosion effects all over, and more copper rivets, and those armored bands from the forehead bent all the way to the back, with the symmetrical diamond copper design at the center of it. Over at the chest, we have a metallic blue set of armor, detailed with silver rivets connecting each section of the collar. Hanging underneath that collar are the smaller plates of scale-shaped armor. Matching in that metallic blue, each section layers over each other, held together by silver rivets on each scale. The entire area has a wash of black staining each scale. There's much less detail over at the back, but the texture here is sculpted in a thick, cracked leather armor, with a few small rivets towards the top. We will notice the large sockets here on the back, with the two shoulder sockets that will be used with armor later in the review. The shoulders use the standard skeletal bone here, with small marks like holes and scratches are brought out by the tan wash. The skeletal forearms attach into the dwarven style gauntlets, a classic piece of armor used in many Mythic Legion dwarf figures, bronze in color with a black wash. The hands are exposed, showing off the skeletal fingers, posed in the grabbing position. Over at the waist, we have a similar looking belt used on the other skeletons in this wave. Two large brown leather belts detailed with cracks, bronze notches, and buckles all in a dark wash of black. Hanging underneath is a sculpted piece of blue cloth in a thick texture, and straps of cracked leather, battle damage, with bronze studs on each strap. Over at the back, the leather belt wraps around to a small plate of silver armor underneath, with more of that blue heavy cloth torn and tattered hanging here as well. We have a dwarven style version of the skeletal thighs, short and thick, with some rough texturing and small holes in a heavy tan wash. Seen on many other dwarven figures, we have the heavy plated leg armor in a bronze color. Each section of armor is a large plate dotted with rivets and layered on top of each other. We wrap up the details with the skeletal feet. Just like the other skeletons, we have the standard set of feet with claw-like nails in a wash of tan. Let's take a look at the articulation. Starting off, we have a ball-jointed head, that the beard will stop a bit of range of motion thanks to how large it is. Removing the head shows us that neck joint adapter that, unlike other necks, have no rotation. The shoulders do open all the way out and rotate all around. Elbows that bend inward and rotate. We have rotation at the forearm where the armor meets the bone. Wrists that rotate and bend up and down, but the gauntlets will stop a tight bend. We have the dwarf style 1.0 body, so the ball joint is at the waist of the figure. No skeletal pelvis here, we are using the 1.0 style of legs here as well. The legs open up and bend forward and back. Knees that bend back a good amount. And also have rotation at the knee. Feet that rotate, bend up and down, and twist. Mythic Legions are in the 1/12 scale, but even if they run a bit big, they do have multiple races at different sizes. The dwarf race is a bit smaller, mostly having shorter limbs than standard figures. Next to a fully skeletal body, the height difference is immediately noticeable, being around a head's worth shorter. Next to an armored dwarf, we can see the similar size of the figures reaching the same height, and more importantly, are able to share parts across each other, as Mythic Legions are modular. The dwarves aren't the smallest race in Mythic Legions, even smaller goblin bodies being slightly shorter but much thinner, using the smaller 2.0 style of bodies. Cosmic Legions are also compatible with Mythic Legions, although Cosmic Legions do run a bit larger, mostly in part to the bulkier sections of armor like the boots and head sculpts. Hasbro runs in the 1/12 scale, usually having most of his figures reach 6 inches without much difference between the brands. This would be your standard height for a figure where the dwarf body almost looks even with them. Jagged Toys is another 1/12 scale, but usually seen as smaller because it actually changes the height to match the character's real size. So smaller figures like Cammy still look tiny compared to a small dwarf Mythic Legion body. McFarlane Toys has their own unique 7-inch scale, where everything is scaled just slightly bigger. With the fantasy aspect of Mythic Legions, the size doesn't really affect the figures being displayed with each other, they fit in. It's mostly the cartoony style of Mythic Legions that makes it stand out rather than size. And just in case you're looking for monsters for your import collection, I do gotta say the dwarf proportions do kinda fit in with import scales. It's a bit cartoony, but as a generic fantasy monster, they look great together. Starting off with the accessories, we have the alternate helmet, just as detailed as the original helmet. Mythic Legion parts are easy to swap. You can simply pop out the original and then socket in the new head on top. Just a simple head swap changes the look of the character so much. Spending some more time to look at the alternate head, we have an amazing symmetrical pattern sculpted on the sides of the helmet, with the top half forming a triangle spiral in copper, and the lower half of under the eyes forming a trim around the eye sockets. The center of the helmet is split in half with a silver band of metal, with bronze small and large diamond studs. Underneath we have an orange beard, larger than the original and very dirty with the brown wash to bring out the strands of hair. Instead of horns, the sides of the helmet have 2 large blades pointing downwards. And here on the side we can see more of that detail of the spiral patterns on the sides of the helmet, and how the metal band at the center of the helmet wraps all the way to the back, forming a small spiked mohawk style appearance. The back of the alternate head is still filled with details, more spiral patterns at the top, spikes continuing down the center, and rows of silver rivets dotting the back of the helmet. For the default helmet, we have a pair of horns in a bone color. The horns install into the large sockets on the side of the pre-installed helmet. You can twist them to pose them any way you like. We have an impressive set of shoulder armor featuring a large silver skull at the center with vines at each side. The set has a spiked silver trim on top of the bronze base, and even underneath has a bit of blue metallic paint. We can install this armor into the upper back slots of the figure. Warming up the sockets will make this easier to install. Afterwards, the armor can rotate up and down to allow more range of motion for the arms. We have a large bronze dwarven shield, in a light and dark bronze with silver eyes and smaller rivets on the dwarven face at the center. The back has a peg for one of the adapters. Once again, we have both types of grip, the original clasping grip, and the newer handle option that your figure can hold onto. We have a bronze and silver battle axe, each blade having a symmetrical design on it. A large square dwarven style sword with the silver blade and bronze handle. And a bronze battle hammer, where one side has a hammerhead and a silver pick, and the handle is made up of a small bladed mace. We have a set of hands similar to the hands pre-installed, only these bend side to side. A extremely thin brown leather belt, and the usual set of wing adapters, where this figure can actually wear them. It applies to the center rectangle socket if you had wings to install. Once again, a pair of skeletal feet joints. While we don't have any extra feet to install, we do get a pair anyways. Skalli Bonesplitter brings a lot of much needed color to the skeletal figures released in this wave, with his bright blue armor and silver and bronze style gear standing out next to all that washed out bone. It's a great use of the dwarven race body. As there are not much unique parts to go around with that race, you will see a lot of similar parts used across the waves. One of the most unique features of this figure is that amazing skeleton head sculpt. The jagged teeth, the beard, and menacing helmet really do carry this figure's uniqueness, because covered in all that armor, you don't really notice much of the skeletal features. While the paint was a bit rushed on the side of the helmets, the detail on this figure was overall amazing. There's a lot of texture to feel, a ton of different colors used, and overall is a nice figure to look at displayed on the shelf. The alternate unique helmet it came with was equally as detailed with paint and sculpted well. Unfortunately, it has no skeletal features but would make a great helmet to give to another figure, it's that good looking. We have a healthy selection of accessories, including unique dwarven style weapons and shield, but the standout is that amazing shoulder armor. Of course, a evil skeleton would wear more skeletons in the armor, and I love silly gimmicks like that. All we need is another skull on the belt buckle. With so many options to change up the gear, it's a great value to the posability of the character, even though the short, stumpy body of dwarves does restrict a lot of range, just because of how short the limbs are and how much gear is being worn. While most dwarves in Mythic Legions do share the same sculpt and armor pieces, this skeletal dwarf is still unique from the rest, as this would be the first skeletal dwarf in this body type. Other than a few spotty areas, the paint was applied very well, and the metallic colors pop and make a great photogenic figure. An amazing looking figure, Skalli Bonesplitter makes a great addition to the band of raiding skeletons. The Viking theme really works well with them, and hopefully we get to see this faction expanded on. Overall, a great figure. The skeleton body style might not be for everyone. You won't be getting any extreme poses out of this guy, but small and chunky, a skeletal dwarf that looks great next to all the other unique skeletons of this wave. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave me a comment letting me know how you like this figure, subscribe or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.